So last time on Diddy, I was all suited up and ready to go because the allegations were so strong. Today, as you can see, we're taking a more relaxed approach because we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty of what's really going on. Today, we're gonna be talking about some of those issues, including the non-disclosure agreements and several other very interesting aspects. So what are NDAs? Non-disclosure agreements are legal contracts that protect sensitive information from being shared with others. So from a legal perspective, I understand the necessity for NDAs, but sometimes I absolutely hate them, and I'm going to explain to you why. What I've seen many times is that rich people or companies that have done the wrong thing many times are going to use these non-disclosure agreements to pay significant compensation to a party to get them to sign off on an agreement that suggests, hey, listen, I'm going to give you this money and you're not going to say anything else about this particular subject. And they do that to many times protect themselves from being sued, from damning themselves from a criminal perspective, or making their civil situation significantly worse. So an example of that might be, and I'm almost positive without having read any of these non-disclosures just yet, if you've got a witness who's seen things that are particularly damning to you, like you doing things to someone that you shouldn't, you're gonna agree to a number, you're gonna pay that amount to this particular person, and you're gonna have a written agreement that says, you're not gonna say anything, you're not gonna cooperate with anyone, you're not gonna disclose anything, and you're not gonna make my legal situation worse. Now, as a plaintiff's lawyer, when I know that there's a witness and they know details that are gonna put the defendant in a worse or a damning position, you want that information and you want that testimony. But if there's an NDA that's properly executed, it's almost impossible to get that. So while these NDAs are extremely helpful to someone who's trying to hide things, if a criminal prosecutor, ADA, or someone on the government side who's prosecuting a criminal case needs to get information, there's ways they can still get it, and they do, trust me. But these things are very beneficial to that defendant for civil cases and people that are trying to hide facts away from opposing counsels or from the public at large. So as we've all seen, there's all these allegations of freak-offs and sex parties and things of that nature. And so these NDAs are going to be specifically valuable to people that maybe attended these freak-offs, that maybe were involved, that maybe are politicians, they're people out there in the public eye, people that have a lot with which they can lose if the public at large knew that they were engaged in this type of illicit activity. So this is where those NDAs are going to be somewhat significant with regards to figuring out who was involved and to what extent they were involved. So Tony Buzbee had a press conference very recently to address all of these devastating allegations. One of the things he specifically said, and I quote here, "If you knew that a particular drug was being used in drinks and causing people to be coerced and taken advantage of, and you were in the room and you participated or you watched it happen and you didn't do anything or you helped to cover it up, in my view, you have a problem." This is really, really bad. If you were some influential person and you saw this stuff going on, you benefited from it, you watched, and you just stood by, participated, and you did nothing, we're coming after you also. And this is really bad. This is going to be really bad for a whole lot of people. So it's going to be really nasty. And knowing how Tony Buzbee is, a local attorney here in Houston, and he gets engaged very significantly as related to these sex abuse cases, this is a huge problem for anyone whose name is being mentioned in these awful allegations. So guys, this is mushrooming and really getting big. So Tony Buzbee, as we know, initially filed 6 complaints against Diddy and his entourage. That number now has ballooned to him now having over 120 plaintiffs. And I'm telling you that number is going to continue to grow. This is getting really bad really quickly. And I'm just telling you, it's going to get worse and worse as things continue to progress. So this is why you have celebrities now that, in my opinion, to some degree, are absolutely panicking with regards to what allegations are coming out and what's going to happen next. You see some allegations of certain celebrities fleeing the country, right? You see others that are making no public comments, right? Because they're scared if they make these public comments that other people can say, wait a minute, that's not true. I saw you doing this, that, and the other. They're trying to do as best they can to kind of cover their tracks. When I know, quite frankly, if the information was there before and Tony Busby or another party is looking for it, they're going to be able to find it eventually. So some of the celebrities that we're seeing on this list are just some of the A-list and the top entertainers in the business. This list includes people like Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lopez, Jay-Z, and Beyonce. No, say it isn't so. I love these guys. Justin Bieber, Naomi Campbell, okay. The Kardashians, they're involved in everything. Usher, uh-oh, not him. And Megan Fox. Sorry for the interruption, but for more content like this, follow our socials. And now, back to the video. I can tell you unequivocally that if the light is shined in their direction, okay, the direction of these celebrities, they are absolutely going to lawyer up, okay? None of them on this level are going to take the risk of saying something that can be used against them without having a mouthpiece, a lawyer, speak on their behalf. So you're going to see that happen without any doubt. And if they don't do that, they're making a huge mistake. So one thing we've got to talk about that's really important is differentiating the criminal suit from the civil allegations, right? And it's so important to talk about these things because they're both absolutely coming up and we can see these things already. Okay, from a criminal perspective, of course, you're looking at people, these celebrities being charged with very serious criminal penalties that can absolutely put them behind bars for many, many, many years. When you talk about these sexual assault issues and things of that nature, some of these guys might be looking at not getting out of prison for 20, 30, or even 40 years. That's a big problem on the criminal side. On the civil side, of course, that's when you have those victims or survivors of these criminal issues coming forward to say that this is what these guys did to me, this is how it hurt me, this is what happened, and so you want to punish them for those things that those people went through. Okay? And what I think you're going to see happen here is that there's going to be hundreds of people potentially that come forward. You're going to see the plaintiffs say, okay, how much money do you have? It's going to be some kind of a gridding system with regards to, okay, how many people were affected? How often was it? How bad was it? And you're going to grid it out into these different categories and then figure out the amount of damages to be allocated between the different survivors. I've done this many, many times, unfortunately, with regards to my sex abuse cases. I settled a case several years ago that settled for over $1 billion. It involved hundreds of plaintiffs against a couple of different and particularized defendants. And so it was very complicated in terms of piercing and kind of separating all those damages out from the different people, from the different offenders, to the amount of times, to the number of years. And so you have to grid all these issues out. And unfortunately, put a dollar value by these things, because at the end of the day, all we can do as lawyers is give you remuneration. In other words, money for the things that you went through. We can't undo them. We can't influence, of course, the criminal process, but we can only give you money to start to deal with these issues and try and set you back on the right track. So unfortunately, guys, this is a terrible situation. But what I find really interesting is with P. Diddy, there's always been smoke, right? There's always been smoke with regards to his conduct and how he's treated people. And the interesting thing is, like, many people have made these allegations against him. They've been taken down. Some of them have been silenced. Some of them have ended up dead. Now, I don't know what has happened there. None of us do. But this does not look good for him. And now that you see this mountain of evidence that has come that seems to be coming to bear, it does not look good for Diddy and his legacy. I think it's going to be completely obliterated. I think that all the good things that he's done, because he has done some good things, he's done charitable things to help other people. But unfortunately, those charitable things are not going to offset the sheer amount of damage that he's done to men and women, victims, survivors, all throughout this country. So it's not gonna go well for Diddy, unfortunately. I can tell you that for sure. And the most important thing that we're gonna get from this is going to be a lesson for other people who have power, who have influence, and who think they are beyond the law. When you see people like President Trump who get convicted of these issues, when you see people like Diddy about to go down for these issues, it lets other people who have power know, listen, use that power responsibly, because if you don't, it all may come crashing down quicker than you think. I'm attorney Darren Miller. Hopefully some of this insight has been helpful to you. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what else you want to hear about. Until next time, this is attorney D. Miller, and this is Take That, D-Law.